All right, you glorious grasshoppers. It's Pink Monday.
Yeah,
We should have we'll alternate. So like next Monday will be your chance to kind of some kind of a
I
some
will wear.
odd
I will
clothing.
wear something.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then the following Monday I'll put something else
exactly.
on. Okay,
Yeah.
good. We'll do that.
I took
So-
some heat last week from some dude who was upset I was wearing a toque. He said I looked
Yeah.
like an idiot.
What was
He
that?
said-
Was he a friend of yours or what? I saw that.
No, I don't know. He said he
Oh.
looked like. I said I look like an idiot. I said, well, let's get on a long line, man. You're not the first one to say that.
Isn't it funny how people would make comments online or something? They wouldn't say that to you face to face, but they're like,
Probably would. Who knows?
no, we wouldn't do it with you. Wouldn't do it with you. All right, everybody. This is the great Mark Putnam, big master of the universes.
Yeah.
You notice I said universes.
It's plural.
All right. He has Patriot Training System is his outstanding company. He has probably one of the smartest guys physically on the physical fitness and mental health person that I know of.
I read a book.
You can write books, big boy. You can
I
write.
read a book.
Are you a big reader? You do read, don't you?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, it's and always stuff that like I'm interested in. I mean, I can't remember the last time I read fiction, and that's neither here nor there. It's all good, but I just, it's not my thing.
Yeah,
I like history.
Yeah, I like history stuff. I like the really like stories too, like David Goggins telling his life story.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Did you see Beckham yet on Netflix? Really good.
I heard that. Wasn't he in trouble? Didn't he have an affair or something like that too?
Well, okay. So what happened was, when he was 23, he was playing for England in the World Cup.
Right.
And it was one of those plays. They're playing Argentina. One of those plays where he got knocked down face first.
Right.
So like the guy that knocked him down, the Argentinian, standing next to him, like when you do a hamstring curl, like you curl your leg up.
Oh.
That's all Beckham did. Like at the guy. The guy went down in a pile. You know how they fake it. And then he got up and he looked. I guess you couldn't tell what was going on, but he was giving grief to the ref, and the ref gave him a red card, which means you're done for the game.
Right.
And it was early in the game, and in soccer, you play shorthanded the entirety.
Oh.
There's no coming back.
Right.
And they ended up losing. So, and you got to remember, he's a 23-year-old kid.
Right.
And the whole country, literally, they hung him in effigy.
Oh.
And Posh was pregnant, and they were saying, when that baby's born, we're gonna kidnap. It was really bad. I mean, he's a kid, you know. And so what happened was he signed with Barcelona, with Real Madrid, Barcelona.
Right.
I think in some ways to get away from all that nonsense in England. And it was nothing long term. It was again, he was a kid.
Right.
You know what I mean? I never had that problem with women just throwing themselves at you.
Sure, you do. What are you talking about?
Well,
That's why Beth owns a gun, for God's sake. Said, shoot these women.
No, they threw stuff at me, but never threw themselves at me. But anyway.
All right, Ira Matthews. Where has Ira been all this time? He's been gone for a month. I hope you didn't have any health issues, if that's what it was. We're glad you're back there, Ira. You dieting master.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see him too. All right. So, topic of the day. We started talking about this before. This is going to be a fun show today. We started talking about this before the start of the show, and we said, no, let's wait for the show. So we got into the topic of whether they're going to get cremated or buried or what it was. And the one thing, we got to both agree. Okay, let's, as a general rule, some people I've talked to have said that the funeral is for everybody else. It's not for the person that dies. It's so everybody else can come and say goodbye. Well, where were you when he was alive or the person was alive? Don't you think that's the time to respect somebody?
Yeah. Well, also the whole notion of the wake and stuff like that, that goes back a long time ago where you actually had to kind of prove the guy was dead. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, I mean, this is out in the wild, wild west, Yeah. And then there were the funeral homes didn't exist. You passed away in your home usually, and it was still an agricultural society. So you lived on a farm. You passed away. Family was in a room. It was almost like a spiritual thing, like bye-bye. Right. And they bury you in the backyard next to the cat. Yeah. Then when Civil War hit, there were unfortunately so many, they used to pile the bodies in a home. Oh. And that's where the whole concept of a funeral home began. But up to that point, it didn't.
How the heck do you know that?
I am full of useless information.
I never would have thought about that.
No, because I was reading something about the Civil War. And that was part of it. Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
That's how they had a funeral home. Wow.
Yeah, it started that way. And they would even use your home as a hospital. And the guys that were doing all the amputations were barbers. So that's remember the old barber pole?
Yeah.
It was like red and white stripe. Yeah. Well, that's because during the Civil War, that's who was chopping your limb off if you got it. Because if you got a bullet back then, there was no surgery; they just chopped it off. And there were barbers that did it. I forget why it was barbers, but I guess they had the tools from I don't know. But yeah,
that's amazing that you knew about the funeral home. Though.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Yeah.
like, who else would have known that that's where a funeral home started? That's
probably
actually-
no one.
Okay, so let's go through the whole process then. So do we agree that again, there's other people. I should be careful the way I say this. So there's some people believe that again it is for the people, the family members and friends to come and say goodbye.
It's a personal.
But I'm kind of like, really? I'm dead. Like,
Well, and then the old Irish wake was you stick the guy in the corner and everybody has a drink and you chat and stuff like that. Yeah.
See, I'm all for that. Like, okay, I want to get cremated, so burn me up, put me in like a coffee can or something like that. Don't spend money on a.
Yeah. Let me get one of those old Sangre, whatever, with the plastic top. Yeah.
Yeah. There you
Be
go.
careful. Don't spill it.
Just put me over in the corner. Go get like a whole bunch of tequila.
Do you know it's illegal? Like everybody wants their ashes spread over water or sea.
Right.
It's actually illegal to do that.
What are you gonna do? Put the guy in jail or what?
No. It's illegal for the person doing it. Yeah,
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, they could put the can in there.
Okay, so you get the coffee can, put it over in the corner. Go get like a whole case of tequila, some grapefruit juice, and make up some nice healthy food and chow down, have some fun, tell some old stories.
It's all, and maybe even put a little in the food, and we could all have a little bite. Yeah. Share.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, the whole. I told my sons. I said, "Listen, if I die, I've had an incredible life, done so many things, loved my life. I'm not around worried."
Well, I do notice now, and serious, that there are less and less tradition, especially when you're dealing with your parents. A lot of people now are just saying, "Hey, listen, let's just have a private thing at the, then have, and like a month or so later, have some kind of religious ceremony."
Right.
There's
a young man I coached, George and Ollie from Greenwich, and they're twins. And the one boy was my son's at Shane's age, so 33. He died recently, and they went to he had cancer, I think it was. They went to a local bar and had a little get together, and that's pretty cool. Like they all by.
Yeah, I mean, I think I prefer that. Like you just celebrate. Like so, my it wasn't really my uncle, but he was like my uncle. You know what I mean? That kind of relationship from when I was a kid. He passed away, and when they asked me to give his eulogy, I said, "Yeah, no problem." Excuse me. And I just used because he was cremated, and it was like a month after he had passed, and a few people got up and were kind of somber. And then I got up and I just used his material because the guy was a funny man.
Oh yeah.
And people were coming up and going, that was the best funeral I've ever heard, eulogy. Like that was. I said, well, listen, that was Al. That's how he lived, cool. And that's probably how he'd want us to remember him.
Yeah, totally. Isn't that true? Yeah.
Yeah.
That whole remember. God, kind of like maybe I'm just not religious enough, but it's like, yeah, you're done. You're done, and that's not being fair to people that are very.
Well, actually, you are done, and this is what we were talking about this. So, like your memory, the memory of you, all of us. Maybe you'll go 2 generations, maybe 3. But then do you have any? I don't even have a concept of my great grandfather.
Yeah, what? And it's interesting because I saw a reel on that on Instagram talking about how if you can't remember, if people won't remember this for 5 years, you should only think about it for 5 minutes. Basically, the theory was that you're worrying about things that and they brought up a good point. Like, do I know who my grandfather's father was?
Right.
Yeah, no clue. Yeah.
I mean, most of us just struggle just to figure out who's who in our immediate family.
No kidding.
Really? 40 years later, you find out my aunt's really,
My aunt's my uncle.
Yeah.
Oh, it is true, right? We worry about.
We worry about some dumb stuff, man.
Yeah, and all that, nonsense. Well, that's a cheery topic. Actually, we're at a sad topic. We're actually cheering it up, right?
Because no one's beat it that I know of. I mean, we're all going to tap out at some point. It's just, and I guess the biggest part of it all is you don't know when.
I know, right? That's why you got to live all out too, right?
Yeah.
That's like even doing things like wearing pink glasses on some worldwide.
Look, you know what? I'm going to take a deeper dive into this whole Buddhist thing. They're just about being cool and being happy and being good to everybody. And you obviously like the diet's pretty, you get a couple pounds here and there, but seriously, all these other religions, it's all guilt. Don't eat this particular food. I think when you get to heaven, they're not going to look at you and go, Tom.
Yeah.
You killed 17 people, but you ate well. Come on.
Yeah. George Carlin, maybe we talked about it. He had a fantastic skit about religion and God and everything, but that was pretty funny. There's something else I wanted to touch on today too. Okay. Back in the gym today, I took not a random, but I took about a month off from the gym. Did much more walking, the midday marches and everything. And it really was like, I think it was a mental thing for me. Like I told you, so I go in this gym by myself in the morning, which was great at first, but it's been like 3 years now since the pandemic. And I'm in there every day by myself. And again, the whole greatness of being alone, I think it was getting to me mentally.
Kind of wore off. Yeah, well, sometimes maybe that's what you need to do. Go there like at 8 or 7-ish when everybody's getting a workout in before work. Maybe it'll get you a little bit jacked up. Because sometimes, I train a lot by myself, but I also, like when I get with other people, like yesterday I was training my friend Al, who's a federal agent. We were doing some hand-to-hand stuff. And even though I was training him, it was a great workout for me too, because it's, we're doing a lot of stuff together. Right. And
as much as you want to think that you could push yourself, it is when you're with somebody else, that ego kind of kicks in a little bit and you don't want to be overworked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we're both pretty competitive people. So it's, and you can compete against yourself for only so long because it was good. These two, this one trainer and his buddy had been coming in. They stopped. Maybe that's what it was because they were coming in all the time before, and then they stopped coming in. And I think I kind of missed them. I was all fired up. You know what? So yesterday was New York City Marathon. Yeah, and Beth was like, because she found the last marathon she trained for that in her training on mile 18. That's when she started getting hurt. Oh, like she had a stress fracture in her hip, and then this and the other thing. Right. So she made a good decision yesterday. We're taking a walk, and she said, what I'm going to do? I'm going to do another one or more, but I'm not going to put pressure on myself for the time. Right. All right. And secondly, I'm not going when I get to mile 15 in training, that's where I'm going to stop. Right. And then the day of the event, you just gut it out. You know what I mean? Did she think that the fatigue after mile 18 is causing the injuries or part of it? Yeah, I think it was just that's she noticed the past couple marathons. That's the point at which in her training she got injured. Right. And I kind of like her thinking because look, say like in boxing, we'll spar a certain amount. You may not always spar the amount of rounds that you're going to fight. Right. Maybe that's not a good analogy, but point is, I understand what she's saying. And like when you show up day of, you're going to finish the race because you're like, you're at the end of the board. Once you go over the water, you're going in. Right. So the day of the event, even if you've only been training up to 15, you'll finish. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Just the fact that you're running a marathon itself, that's a achievement right there. How many people actually run marathons? Yeah. And it was interesting. I watched the very end of it last night with Beth, and they have a staggered start, I guess, because there's 50,000 people. But the professional races, the women came in first. I guess they let them go first. And it was right up to like 800 meters. There were 3 girls that were just right in it. Wow. And then one girl just like, oh, man, she kicked it. Wow. Huh. Can you imagine? Like, mile 26, and she sprint, and like part of the end, you got to go uphill. I'm like, wow, these are phenomenal athletes. Yeah. All right. Ira's got a very good point here. You know what, Ira? I wasn't even thinking that with all the stuff going on in Israel, that's probably what's bothering you a lot too. So I apologize for being a little careless on that for you. Mark, interested in your thoughts on the Middle East and the strategy of special forces and tunnels, not politically, but strategically, since every general seems to be in the news discussing strategy. Yeah, I do know that, and I think everybody knows our special forces are there. I don't know if they're working strictly as advisors, which I probably, don't know, but that's their thing. That's who they are. They're trained specifically to deal with unusual circumstances like breaching or tunnels. I think I know we're there. Again, I don't know if we're actively going into tunnels, but it's the right thing to do for sure. Yeah. It's interesting too. Barack Obama came out and said that both sides are at fault on this. Do we really? Like everything else, do we really know the truth too about? You never do. Yeah, and that's something I just read before. We're like, if we're finding out the news is fake, what about history? Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Look, here's in my mind, and this is just me, and this is not political. It's just my thoughts on it. What happened was terrorism, and terrorism cannot be tolerated, and that's just the end of the story. And whatever you have to do to eradicate that element. Then as far as the other part of the story, I'm not educated enough to come up with a solution, or not even a solution because I'm not that smart, but come up with a opinion. What you have to say to yourself, if people are capable of doing that, what else are they capable of doing?
So Hamas is a terrorist group that
Correct.
one of its specific goals is to eliminate the Jews.
Eradicate them.
Right.
Yeah. And that's a dangerous place.
Well, yeah. I mean, living over there in Israel, knowing that their terrorist group is right next to you, and their goal is to eradicate you.
Yeah. When you look at a map, I mean, here's Israel. Where am I? Anyhow, the rest of the screen is the Middle East. So it's the size of New Jersey, and I understand it has historical content, it has religious content, perspective, and all. I get all that, but what happened on October 7th, it just can't happen. I mean, this is, like, the one thing I will agree with Netanyahu is, and again, a lot of people have different opinions to him. I don't even know where I stand with him, but I will say this. Did we ask for a ceasefire after Pearl Harbor? Did we ask for one after 9/11? No, we spent 20 years trying to eradicate the bad guy, Al Qaeda.
Right.
So,
yeah, I know. And the ceasefires. I mean, how many ceasefires have they had over there?
Well, first of all, war is war. I mean, that's like having a hockey fight, and then you both stop and chat. Hey, how you doing? And all of a sudden go back.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like Hamas, they're not going to adhere to a ceasefire. No. They can care less. They're going out killing people. Yeah.
I mean, the thing about it's hard to even really look at this and say that when I speak of the war in general is just brutal. It's about breaking things and killing people, and that's really what it boils down to.
Right.
And it's horrible. It's horrific. When diplomacy fails, unfortunately, this is what happens.
We're so fortunate we get to meet the special forces guys, Navy SEALs, and everything. They're great guys. We're having fun, we joke around. But the other side is they're going over there risking their lives, like that, to live that life. Like I honestly ask myself sometimes, okay, I think I'm a tough guy. I think I'm pretty mentally strong, but
I'll speak for myself. No, those are very special men.
Yeah.
And I could never live up to that. I mean,
I guess if you really had to, but they don't have to. They choose to.
They choose to.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Like if you look at Zach Harrison, who we had on, who was Delta Force guy, Bill Brown, who was a SEAL, they all went into the military. Many of them not specifically looking to end up being a special force or elite warfighter, and they end up being it because it's a certain kind of person. They're risk takers. They don't deal well with authority, which is kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah,
they understand command.
Hold on 1 second to interrupt you. That's right. Of all the guys I listen to, they're always talking about how when they were younger, they're just wild, right?
They're all in trouble. Yeah. And you know this from playing hockey, and I've known this in the fight game. I'll say this about the fight game. Every world champion I ever met came from a very dire situation, right? And I think for a lot of the guys that go special forces, it's not a dire situation, but there's a situation, and Bill Brown will tell you, he went in the Navy to learn a trade. He wanted to become an electrician.
Right.
And he went to SEAL qualified training in the morning because he knew it was 4 hours long and it would get him away from a dude who was on his ass. And it ended up being a SEAL. So, and like Kenny Bigby.
Yeah.
A guy he was from Indianapolis, tough neighborhood, but he drove out on his own, was basically homeless for a while till he got into the Navy and went to BUD/S.
Wow.
And he couldn't swim. And he became a SEAL. So
that's right there. All right. There's a tough guy and there's a tough guy. Yeah, Susan's right. There's a tough guy and there's a tough guy, right? Like it's one thing for us to be playing hockey and going out and getting fights, but that's a lot different.
She's got a great point there, and that's a very valid point.
Yeah.
There's being tough, but you and I know this. The most feared men on the planet, who are the most capable men of creating a lot of destruction, are always the quietest guy in the room.
Yeah.
And are peaceful people.
Yeah.
And there's a guy in England, Lee Morrison, he teaches combatives, and he's been doing it a long time. He's really good at what he teaches. And he said, I took a vow of peace, but I'm not a pacifist.
Yeah. What's Joe said, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
So what Lee said is, I took a vow of peace, but that doesn't mean I won't defend myself or my loved ones.
Yeah, a lot of great sayings like that, right? I'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
That was Bruce Lee. Yeah.
Did he say that? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
How about the other one? If somebody stands behind you, protect them. If they stand beside you, respect them. If they stand in front of you, show no mercy. Oh,
I've never heard that, but I like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But then there's also, there's a whole bunch of great
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the Iron Dome and Arrow intercepting missiles like Star Wars? But the Iron Dome, it doesn't work against the smart bombs. Is that right?
That's the issue. Yeah, and that's what in Lebanon, they have 100,000 of them, and they could literally hit within 5 to 10 meters. But my guess is we don't know the full story, so maybe they have defense systems that will intercept. But again, war is hell. I mean, things go sideways.
Yeah.
And again, when we talk to these guys, and when all the training and all the preparation, and this is why they say we don't have plan B, we have a contingency. Right? There's one plan. We have a contingency because it's so asymmetric. It's so unpredictable. And they have the military have especially at that level, they have an acronym called VUCA, which means volatility, uncertainty, chaos, and ambiguity. In other words, when you get into the battlefield, it really there's no storyline. Let's put it that way. Right. It just happens.
This will fire you up. I saw this is no new news to you, but this is one of your favorite topics. But there's a video of a guy interviewing a bunch of migrants. I think they're coming over the border. They were from Syria. And,
I saw that.
So I interviewed them all where they're going. One's going to New York. One's going.
A couple were going to New York.
Yeah.
Look, man, I have no problem with anybody from any part of the world coming here. My hands out. Just don't come here and start stuff, because if you do, then it's not good, and you're going to find an unwelcome committee waiting for you.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. Oh God, what are we doing?
So, what do you think about the neck guards now? This seems to be a big topic.
TJ Oshie actually put one on there.
Yeah.
Loved it. I saw a quote from him today. Talking about. So I guess somebody must have been giving him a hard time about it, because he said, "Listen, I'm an adult. I'll do what I'm. I'm an adult. I've got kids. I'm going to protect my kids." And I also think he's setting a great example for everybody else to say other kids that maybe are wanting to fight wearing it. Listen, the chances of something ever happening to a young man is slim. But you know what? As we saw, I mean, and once it happens, man, it's
react to it. I know it's all about the look. I know guys wear certain types of buckets because they'll stand in front of the mirror with this bucket. And it's not about protection. It's about how do I look with this helmet.
Oh,
but totally. and I do remember when Sean was playing youth hockey, they had to wear them, and half the time it's spinning around their neck, and they didn't have it on right. All that kind of
that's going to be the issue, right? Because the kids, it gets up against their chin and everything like that, kind of strokes them, so they tape it together to squash it down.
I don't understand why. I'm sure they have it out there. I haven't seen it in so long, but I've been around. But maybe some kind of like remember the Dickie. Yeah. But it's something similar to that, where it just kind of.
I looked that up. They do have a Kevlar or whatever it is, something like that. That's I think it's one of those pieces of equipment. Unlike shoulder pads, there hasn't been a lot of research that's been put in. There's got to be a better way, more comfortable way to protect.
Yeah. I mean, you probably remember. I don't know. You may have been on the ice when Pat Flatley got stepped on in a preseason game at the Garden.
No, I didn't. I don't think I was off that.
Or I'm sorry. I think he stepped on Pat Hickey. Somebody got right across here.
Right.
Was out for a pretty long period of time because
those short gloves they wear now. God, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Well, I know there's no slash. I think the theory is that there's no slashing anymore, right?
So it's good in theory.
Yeah, but now you break your arm, you hit with a shot. There's that open area. There's just skin with some guys. The jersey doesn't even go down and cover it. So
they started wearing slash guards now. You know. Yeah. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's just. We got in the whole discussion about hitting with kids and everything too. Like you can't hit now until you're 14 years old.
You see what Gretzky said?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
So basically, Wayne Gretzky said, if a kid's not going to potentially play in the NHL, like with some league or whatever, then why are we hitting at all? But that's part of hockey.
The problem, and the problem there is, and I've seen it. Like, just go to your local men's league game.
Yeah.
What does it always erupt into? A brawl.
Yeah.
Because you can't hit. Right. You're not supposed to hit. And then there's somebody who smokes somebody, and then it's on.
Yeah. If guys are going to be idiots, guys are going to be idiots. Like those men's league games. We were playing a game one time. This guy's got the big hook on his stick. It was clearly illegal. Our goaltender is a roofer. And it's like a 10 o'clock game. The guy comes down, fires one right at his head, hits him in the mask, goes through the mask, and cuts him wide open. I'm going, what? Are you an idiot? This is a men's league game.
They don't care.
No. And, he looked at me like, what's the problem?
What's your problem?
Yeah. I know. The whole with Gretz. I mean, obviously, everybody has so much.
I understand what he's saying. He said even university. If you're at university and there's no chance you're playing in the NHL, but again, you're going to take I don't know, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old young men who are jacked up on testosterone and want the girl and tell them to play nice.
Totally. And let's say, like, I coached the girls' high school team here, or help coach the girls' high school team. He's not supposed to be hitting at all. Well, they're still hitting each other. Yeah.
Oh, I went to see Bruce Driver coaches for a long time. I think he's won a couple titles. Morristown Beard, girls' team in New Jersey. And I went to a game. I was at the rink and they were playing Connecticut. Let me tell you, first of all, it was good hockey.
Yeah, very good.
Good hockey. And they were going at it, man.
Yep.
There was a lot of physicality. I think the big difference between what I saw there, they can't shoot the puck.
True.
You know what I mean? They really just don't have the same type of. But everything else the skating was the same pretty much, and the body play was pretty much. I didn't notice anything.
Some of these girls that I coach, they work out during the summer. Or they go to fitness centers, so it's just like the boys stuff. Yeah. They're good players. How about our Rangers? They finally lost the game in Minnesota. Like lost two key players, Hedel and Fox. Looks like for a while. Right?
Yeah, and I think Shesterkin is just already banged up already. I think they gave him maintenance.
Right.
You know what? Build those points early, right?
Yeah.
You want to get them in before the end of November, and then if you hit a road trip and you kind of crap the bed a little bit, it's not so bad. Yeah.
Sound of peace. Listen.
That's not here. That's you.
My doggies. My grandson Maverick was over yesterday.
Okay.
He's funny. He gets so excited. Shane lets him out of the car without the leash, which should chop him down, but he heads right to the door for me because I got treats here for him and everything too. So he gets the treats.
So I have a friend of mine. He's also a client, but he's a friend, and I train him 3 days a week. His business. I train him and his workers. And they have an Australian cattle dog, which are they're herders. I mean, they just want to push you around. And this dog, beautiful animal, but she's not really friendly. But I've known her since she was a puppy. So she'll come bark, and then she sees it's me, and she turns around and goes and she'll get a ball. And while I'm training everybody, I got to play catch with her for like an hour.
Is that right? That's cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Cool. How about our boy Daniel Jones, quarterback of the New York Giants?
Wow.
I feel terrible for him. I like him. I think he's talented. He seems like a real good person, good leader.
What are they going to do?
I know. So so if anybody didn't see it, it was end of the first quarter, right? He got hit.
ACL will look like.
Yeah. So he got hit, stayed in the game, and then all of a sudden dropped back to throw a pass and just collapsed. Right?
The way it buckled, that looked like an ACL for sure.
Yeah.
That's it for this year.
And then people are Boomer Esiason, who I respect a ton. He was on this morning saying maybe the end of his career as far as being a Giant.
Well, yeah, I mean, a knee like that, it depends. Was it his right knee? Because that's what he goes back and plants on when you're going to.
They weren't quite sure, but I think it was. Yes, yeah. Well, but here's the thing too. So they were talking about the reason he may be gone as far as being a Giant is that there's all these good quarterbacks in the draft this year. So if they think he's not going to work out, then they're going to take one of those. But still, what about the old days where they don't put the rookie quarterback in right away?
Well, right? Also, if you really look through history,
right?
I mean, there's been some really great NFL quarterbacks that played at big time programs,
right?
But they're like, where did Phil Simms play?
I don't know.
Small school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you're gonna, and it's a different game at that level.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you figure the kid that's a high draft pick, a quarterback, has probably been able to do whatever he wants to do at the college level, right? Yeah. Like even like you look at Patrick Mahomes, and he's sitting the bench for a couple years.
So if you look at Geno Smith, right? He came here to New York. The kid wasn't ready, wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
He was playing horribly. And now he's resurrected his career.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Cool. And I saw him get interviewed. Yeah, good kid too. Yeah.
When he came he played at West Virginia, and they played a spread offense. So he had like 8 guys to throw the ball to.
Right. And
he's a great athlete. So, but the problem with the NFL is there's no one open.
Yeah.
No one's open. It's a totally different game.
Yeah, you can't make mistakes.
And, so some of the best athletes at the college level, like even Michael Vick, he did all right, but I'm trying to think of another example. Mark Sanchez.
Yeah.
When USC played Notre Dame, they had NFL speed, USC. Right.
Yeah.
They beat them purely on speed. And then we all know what happened here in New York. I mean, he just disaster.
That's a good example. Geno Smith, Mark Sanchez. When he started off, though, I mean, he was doing okay until he brought
Sanchez did well. Yeah. I mean, he, if I remember, they went to the AFC
twice.
With the Chargers one year, and I think whatever, but Broncos maybe. But
And he looked like a capable quarterback as a young player. And I thought this kid's going to have a good career. Then they bring in Tim Tebow and do all that nonsense with him, which I never. What was that? This is
you know what it was?
What?
Sold a lot of shirts.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, and I admire Tim Tebow too. So don't get me wrong, but but if your quarterbacks, what other team in the NFL does that with their quarterbacks? If your quarterback's playing well, keep him in there.
Yeah, and they went to that. I think with T-bone, then they go to a wishbone, which is more. That's really like a college kind of. It's a different game in the NFL, and it used to be a much more running dominated game, but now it's all you got to pass the ball. Like,
the poor running backs now they get
nothing. They get, because it's the guys are so big and strong and quick.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get guys that weigh 260 that are running like 4.8 40s, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I watched the early game. There's that Baltimore game. Man, they're
4-5.
Baltimore's a good team.
Yeah,
Wow.
I want to see what the Jets do tonight against Chargers.
That's right too. Who's the Herbert, or who's the quarterback for?
Yeah, Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
And I saw a stat yesterday. He's thrown for over 15,000 yards already, and that's pretty rarefied air. I mean, we're talking about Peyton Manning numbers and stuff like that. And he doesn't get the publicity, but
here's the big scoop too. Travis Kelce did nothing yesterday in their game. I saw that his girlfriend Taylor Swift, Patrick Mahomes' wife, and somebody else was out in New York City partying. I wonder if Kelce was like upset that his girl is.
Maybe that's what it is. Right. Yeah. Wow. Maybe Taylor's not so swift after all.
Oh, nice one.
Yeah.
I just don't get it with her, really. Like, first of all, I don't. Sounds terrible. But she's not my type of person. Like all the lipstick and everything. Like she's like kissing a paint can.
She's creation of the media. She's very done well for. I mean, she's a billionaire.
Yeah. Oh,
so there's an audience.
Yeah, totally.
I'm not part of it, and that's not to say that she's not good. It's just not my type of music.
Yeah, I know.
But she's a creation of media, just like. So it's funny, like if you follow the New York Post, so right now it's Taylor Swift. A year ago was Jen and Ben. And Ben. Before that, it was pick anybody, but they go like they latch on. It was A-Rod for a while, and it's just the way it's never. Yeah.
Isn't that true? Yeah. Like the Kardashians, for example. Like I got to give them credit. Like they're great at marketing and
they're all billionaires too.
Yeah, I know.
And you know who's billionaires? The twin girls that played the little girls on Full House.
The Olsen
girls. Yeah, they started a clothing line. They've been wealthy for a while. They started a clothing line.
Yeah.
And they became billionaires with a B.
Yeah, I know. Like they don't act anymore either. They're doing such all the clothing. Yeah. Oh no, I admire people like that whole branding world where people can make themselves into whatever. I mean, you have to have somewhat like there has to be something that kind of triggers that. Like the Kardashians, the father was the lawyer for O.J. Simpson, right?
Well, I think the girl's success is the mother. I mean, she just pushed them, and even though it was, some would say, I don't want to get into specifics, but
yeah, I know branding and marketing. Man, I guess I'm in that world now, but I didn't know my youngest son, man, he was pushing me to do it. I said, "What are you talking about?" I just didn't understand it all. Let me see here. Susan Brooks is making a comment. I think she's being critical of me. Here, hold on. Tom, you're not in your 30s. You're the golden bachelor speed. I know.
Oh, by the way, yeah. So what is this show? I saw the ad last night. I looked at Beth and go, oh my God.
Well, I didn't get asked actually. A marketing company came to me after Survivor and said, listen, this new show's coming out.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah. Will you put in an application? Funny. And I thought that'd be kind of cool. Yeah. But first of all, though, the whole premise is that you're finding someone to get married to, right?
Yeah. Well,
I don't think we're going down that road.
But how many they really get married? I mean, it's just a hook on the show.
I know when I saw the first show and the guy was wearing a hearing aid, I said, it's not doing that.
I know. You got to bring it. Defib on a when your first day, you got to bring a defibrillator with you. It's not cool.
Yeah. Well, I guess I thought I would have a shot because I'm the healthy guy and everything, but no, that's not what they wanted. They didn't want a healthy guy. They wanted a guy that's nearly dead. So,
exactly.
Newlywed. What is it? Is it Naples, Florida? They call it the home of the newlyweds and nearly dead.
Yeah. Well, most of Florida used to be called that. Yeah,
is that what it is?
Well, back in the day, but yeah, newlyweds and nearly dead. Yeah.
Right. I'm going to ask you a personal question. Don't answer if you don't want to. Okay. You and Beth have never gotten married.
No.
Is that a conscious decision? Obviously, to just say, why bother?
Well, I mean, we're older. We're not going to have kids. It just, my boys look at her as their stepmom.
Right.
And
because really, like I just view you guys as like a couple. Like,
right.
I think we're so conditioned to believe that we have to get married, right?
If it was really important to her, I most likely would go through with it. Right. Just not big on that blood test you got to take. No.
You know what, Christine? I am a little disappointed by our audience today that this was not a bigger thing. So no, it was mentioned early in the show, the pink glasses. So what we're going to start here is a little tradition. So every other Monday, I'll have to pick a piece of clothing or something to have on the show that's unique. And then Mark will do the opposite the other Mondays. So next week it'll be Mark's turn. Come up with something.
Yeah. Like I said, I took heat, and the guy must have been Canadian because he called it a toque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I saw that quote, and then he's calling you an idiot for. I thought you were buddies or something like that. Like, what was that?
No. Well, I mean, look again. Idiot party probably had right, but
Yeah.
just
But you don't have to bring it. You don't have to mention it.
yeah.
Just because you're correct.
Everybody already knows.
Yeah. Some of your boys on the Rangers, I can barely see these. Posed for Sergio Valente, designer jeans ads in the 70s. Yeah, Duguay, Rouge.
Well, then they also do La La Sassoon. I mean, it was Maloney and Espo and
I think you're
Anders Hedberg.
Yeah, it was Ooh La La Sassoon. It wasn't Sergio Valente, was it?
And Doogie. Yeah, it was Doogie.
And Pierre wasn't here. Pierre wasn't here in '79, so a little bit off on there. But listen, I like your
close enough.
Yeah, women chicken. I like that. You should come with unique needs. Anyway, question glasses. Hedberg was the other one. Christine, you're correct. He was in there. What do we got here? What do we got? Let me see here. Bianca, I thought we missed a conversation. Last late night yesterday. Oh, although I do like to have a couple of cocktails out in the back deck there watching football. So
that's why you got the deck.
Yeah. Oh God, I love the deck. Even when it's cold. So I got the heater underneath. I've got a stone patio table. So I have the heater underneath, so it heats up the stones on the. Yeah.
What
do they call that? Radiant heat? Is that what that's called?
Yeah, radiant heat. Yeah.
Okay. Maloney was the other one. Yes, Anthony. Thank you very much. Okay. So first thing, let's do a highlight of the show today.
Okay.
You knowing that the funeral home was developed. Say that again. No.
Well, during the Civil War, they didn't exist up to that point.
Right. Yeah. It's amazing. You think of all the things that we have now. Like, how did they all start? Like, where did they come from? So, funeral home. We've answered that question. Right. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
And then, how about the actual funeral, like the casket? How did that start? Casket.
Well, you had to put the body in something, but I think also interesting. You ever hear he's a dead ringer?
Okay. Yeah.
So I think this was in England. So they were drinking out of mugs that had lead in them.
Right.
Not knowing the damage that they were doing. People were actually becoming zombified almost with it.
Right.
And they were burying people that would wake up and go, I'm still alive.
Oh.
So I don't know if this is factual, but they would put a string into the coffin so that if you did wake up and alive, you pull on it and rang a bell.
Come on.
I swear to God. Yeah, dead ringer. So that they know, hey, gotta dig Joe back up. He's still with us. Yeah.
See, that is twice today where you've come up with a piece of information that I don't think anybody else probably would have thought of. That's cool.
Rammer, you remember Rammer, right? Yeah. So he used to sit over there on the plane. He called me. Who's the guy? Oh, Cliff.
Yeah. You told me that, yeah.
Yeah. And all that useless information.
Okay, but you said you have to put them someplace. You couldn't just put the dead bodies in the ground?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they did back in the day, but it was also just part like you're in a house, so you just don't throw a body. Because the funeral home was a home. That's where they came up with the term funeral home. Wow. It was actually somebody's home that lived there, and they would do the process and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, because you think back in the Western days, they're out in the field, they're out in the rain.
Yeah, you just dug a hole.
Yeah, right. Because there's nothing bad's going to happen. It's just going to rot.
No, you become mulch. I mean, you'd be
fertilizer.
And that's what it's you end up being a tree at one point.
Okay, here's another thing too, with the leaves all falling down.
Mm-hmm.
Farm Boy Tom. So everybody now spends lots of money to have landscapers come and clean those leaves up. Well, that's natural fertilizer. You should be just mulching it.
So leave it there. Yeah.
Well, we get sucked into these things
sometimes. Yeah, well, it's a moneymaker.
Isn't that true? You think of all the things that are moneymakers for other people that we really don't have to be doing.
I know you the dogs, but for me, it's the leaf blowers.
Oh yeah,
that's all you hear all day. It's like, please stop.
I know nowadays, and and again, it's not a big deal. But one of the neighbor with the yappy dog, like Sundays is supposed to be no leaf blowing or whatever. It's a town ordinance, so he gets his own little leaf blower out there, and he's blowing his. Like, oh god, I have to yell, but I feel like I can't yell at him for everything.
So let me go back to hockey for a minute.
Yes.
Marchand, that was a can opener all the way. Can opener.
That was terrible. Like that's reckless. That's like total lack of respect.
That guy's a good hockey player. Why do you go? Like, why do you have to do that? Because then everybody just.
Okay, here's one theory, and I don't think he needs to do it anymore. But especially early in your career, you want to show people that you got a little bit of crazy in you, right? Because if you're going to come near me, you don't necessarily know what I'm going to do. But that's when you're younger in your career. Like he's a veteran. He's a captain of the team now. Like that is really just like a lack of respect. And I talk about respect, like even back, like when it was wild back in the 70s and 80s,
right?
like to hurt somebody like that. Guys used
But
to.
see, why didn't it happen? Why does he feel he can get? Because there's nobody. He doesn't have to answer the bell.
Right.
I mean, if somebody did that back when you played, I mean, Nicky would have grabbed him, or somebody would have just throttled him.
Right. Yeah.
But that's why that third man in and getting enforcers out of the league is not a good thing.
Oh, I know. It's never going to change. It's not going to go back. Yeah, the genie's out of the bottle. Is that old saying?
Yeah. And even Trouba said, not about that particular hit, but the one on
Fox.
Yeah, he said, how come nobody fights that? Every time I make a clean hit, I got to fight.
Yeah, totally.
And that's another part of the game they got to change.
Yeah, definitely.
So that, yeah.
Okay, here before we close the show up, here there's important information I need to know. So all the old TV shows like I Dream of Jeannie, Gilligan's Island, of all those women, they were obviously trying to make them as hot as possible, right? Like with the outfits putting on whole bit. So who was the hottest of the hot?
Back then?
Yeah.
I kind of was partial to Jeannie.
Right. Yeah.
And then, like Laura Petrie. I mean, I'm showing my age here because that show was
Laura Petrie. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about Ellie Mae and Beverly Hillbillies? Ellie Mae was.
The Cement Pond. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Oh, what was that song? I used to be able to sing the song too at the start. Oh, yeah.
Oh, the Hillbilly song?
Black Gold, Texas Tea.
Yeah, Texas Tea.
Oh,
yeah.
That's funny. All right, brother. You have proven once again to be the most intelligent person in all the universes. That is useless information, but that is actually.
Yeah, no, it's totally useless.
I swear to God, I can't get over the fact that you knew about Dead Ringer and the funeral home. I've never.
Yeah.
That's
pretty morbid, actually.
No, well, the fact that you know it. All right, brother. Great to see you again. Have a great week.
Always, man. Have a good one.